And the next morning we all convened, and I'll never forget it. They said, okay, yesterday was a tough day. They said, but today's going to be horrible. And they were right, because that was the day that we actually had to go out and work that riverbank and try to find all these missing people and missing children. And I've been involved in so many rescues and recoveries throughout the years. You know, you kind of put those things away and you don't try not to remember them. They go back in the data bank and they try to get lost. But this is the very first time that I've responded to something like this since I've had my own children. And so when you do go out there and you find, you know, a child, specifically a little girl, laying out in the brush, just torn and beaten and battered, and the first thing you see are your little girls laying there.
Oh, man.
And it got me. Like it physically and emotionally and psychologically got me 24 plus years. And it finally, it got me. I had a problem with that. And not that I didn't have a problem with the other ones, but those things, you live through them and you go on. And you don't, that one was hard to, because you think about the family, you think about where are these people's family at this moment? I'm here, there, and I'll never forget, something came over me, one that we came upon, and I had some younger wards with me. There's a DPS guy with me and some other people, and it was crushing. But the first thing I thought that I needed to do, and I'll never forget this, I said, look, if you don't want to be a part of this, walk away, but I'm going to say a prayer. So we all stood there and we prayed over this baby, you know. And that was hard.
Oh, man. Folks, thanks for joining us today for another episode of There Is More. There is more. There's more to you than your name. There's more to you than your college degree or the lack thereof. There's more to you than what street you live on. We are what we are in the natural, but we really are who we are in that invisible part of us. And that's what this is about. There's more to us than just what can meet the eye. And it's my joy today to welcome to our podcast a friend and a law enforcement officer that I've grown to really appreciate over the years, Kevin Frazier, who is employed with our Texas Department of what?
Parks and Wildlife, Texas Parks and Wildlife Department.
Texas Parks and Wildlife, and is a bona fide game warden.
Texas game warden,
and has been a part of Texas for all your life, right? Except for a little while you're out in college. But tell us about where were you born? What was growing up like?
I was born in San Antonio. I grew up on Petranco Road.
Did you?
Yeah, I grew up on Petranco Road back when it was a 2-lane road. And so I just call it Real Medina.
Yeah.
And went
almost to Castroville.
Yeah, right? Yeah, not far. You know, I went to school at Medina Valley and graduated there in 95.
95, okay. And then, all right, so you met some, I've run into one or two of the ones that you met in high school. When did you meet Colt Arnold?
Well, Colt, you know, went to Medina Valley with me.
Did he? Okay.
He actually,
he's a SAPD.
He's SAPD. He was a couple of years ahead of me in school.
Was he?
Okay. Yes.
All right.
Yeah, so I've known Colt most of my life. Yeah.
And y'all are still friends? Sometimes.
So far. Yeah. No, he's a good man.
He is a good guy. Okay, now are you involved in sports?
Yeah, so I played most every sport in high school, and thankfully I was able to get a small scholarship to play football, and I knew that I'd always wanted to be a game warden growing up.
Really?
And so yeah. When I was a little boy, I was in the Boy Scouts, and my Boy Scout master was a game warden. His name was Ernie Lerma, and growing up, I watched him in the community. He was at, he came to the schools a lot. He was on TV. He was in the paper.
Really?
And he was everywhere, and he did everything. He didn't just, he wasn't just a game warden. He enforced all the laws. He did them everywhere. He did a lot of water work. It was his passion, but his main passion was Boy Scouts, and so we got to learn a lot and camp out and hike on all the coolest places because the game warden had the keys to everybody's ranch.
How about that?
So he influenced me big time, and I ended up being one of his first Eagle Scouts.
Really?
And got that right in time. I darn near didn't get it, but because of him, he pushed me to get it before, it expired for me to get it. And then I went off and ended up graduating college in North Carolina, a small private Baptist school, which is kind of funny because I grew up going to a Catholic school my whole life. CCD classes on Wednesday nights and Mass on Saturday or Sunday night. My mom was really big on us going to church, me and my sister, and and then going to a private Baptist college in the Bible Belt of North Carolina.
What was the name of the school?
Wingate University.
Wingate.
But if you're from there, it's Wingate University. but it was quite a culture shock.
Well, how did North Carolina find you in Texas?
That's another long story, but I'll keep it short. So I had a roommate at Cisco College. His name was Joe Patterson. And the circle of life comes through with him because he went to Wingate, and then I went to Angelo State for a year. And then after that year, I decided I didn't like it there. And he told his coaches about me and got me up there I never even visited, never been out of Texas in my life.
Really?
But they called me and said, hey, we'll give you a little money if you'll come up here. I got in the car with him the next summer and I was gone. Never visited the place. Just I knew I needed a degree to be a game warden, so I was willing to go anywhere to do it. And then later on down the road, I recruited his brother to be a game warden.
How about that?
Yeah.
That's just really interesting that from literally when you were a boy, you began to want to be a game warden.
Yes.
And it was because of that adult game warden that
Yes.
was a friend to you,
Yes.
and you saw some things about how he did life and who he was that you wanted to be in on. That's remarkable.
Yeah, he cared a lot about youth and cared a lot about the outdoors and getting people involved and getting kids involved in the outdoors. He was a mentor to many young men.
How about that? Okay, so you came back from North Carolina. Then what?
Then I had a couple little small jobs just until I was able to get into the academy, which is not a easy process. It's almost sometimes takes, back then it took almost up to a year sometimes to get hired. You had to go through a very, very in-depth background investigation and take some tests and do some interviews and psychological interviews and all kinds of stuff, which I figured if I can get by that one, I'm good. So yeah.
Oh, well, tell us a little bit about that now. I mean, you got into the academy, and how long a process is that once you're in?
I was in. We started. I think we started in early March and got out. I think late August, so about 6 months, and sent me down to Zapata, Texas. That was my first duty station down on Falcon Lake. Yeah.
And you would be you'd be going out with a more senior game warden?
Yeah. When I actually transferred there, I was the only warden there, and then there was one or two other wardens in other counties that would come and kind of help out and train me, and we did a lot of stuff on the lake. So a lot of wardens would come, and we did a lot of night work on the lake, chasing commercial fishermen from Mexico, because most of Falcon Lake is in Mexican waters. And it shared the U.S. as well. So we did a lot of work on that lake, chasing commercial fishermen during the day, and then at night they would run drugs. So we would chase their boats at night, catching drugs. Yeah.
Okay, so you obviously would do that. Y'all would be in a boat, and how would you stop? How would you? Were there lights?
We had lights and sirens, but most of the time those guys, they weren't stopping. It was a boat chase that most of those boat chases were boat chases that, a Hollywood director couldn't write a script over it. It was so crazy.
Really?
A lot of time, there was a lot, we would hit them or they would hit us. And it was just kind of the way it was back then. That's how you stopped them. Crazy times. It's changed a lot since then.
Well, there for a while, I'm sure it didn't calm down very much. I mean, it only perked up.
Oh, yeah.
Got more intense. I remember in some of the earlier days of getting to know you that you would be talking about how that the game wardens would quite often be called into chases, even on the highway, on I-35,
Sure, yeah.
and so forth, back on county roads and all, that you would on your radio hear of a chase going on, and then you'd try to lend assistance to that.
Yeah.
Can you tell us anything about that? I know you can't go into the whole bunch of detail.
I mean, I'm a peace officer,
right?
First and foremost, and I have a duty to protect the public. And when we have back, several years ago, up until the last year or so, we'd have a lot of stolen vehicles, and they'd steal vehicles from, San Antonio and Houston, Austin, these big cities, these cartels, and they would take them down to Mexico, and they would use these stolen vehicles to do all kinds of illegal activity, up to and also smuggling human beings. So and so they would come up, highways, Highway 57 from Eagle Pass, Highway 35 from Laredo, from any border town, and they're coming north, and they're coming fast and hard, and so they wouldn't stop, so they would go through fences and go through properties, and a lot of times they would go onto ranches, and so the game wardens know the ranches better than anybody. So that's a lot of times how I would get involved, is the landowner or the dispatcher, the sheriff's department, border patrol would call me, call other game wardens, hey, we've got these vehicles on these ranches, can you help us track them or help us find out who the landowner is? Yeah, it did a lot of that for a long time. Yeah, but most of that's kind of subsided,
settled down
quite a bit.
Good. So one of the main reasons that I wanted you to come and let us just be able to visit and let folks listen in is that there can be an attitude from the non-peace officer community looking at you guys, and whenever you encounter us because of something that we may have done, a speeding violation, or we didn't fill out our form right in the cooler log or whatever, that you all have a job to do. You've got laws to uphold. Along with that can carry somewhat of and out of stern, I'm not using that in a bad way, it's just, you're just doing what you do.
Sure.
But the real truth is there is a heart behind that badge, Kevin, and that's what has meant so much to me in getting to know you better, and as well as some of the other SAPD guys and law enforcement that we've interviewed from time to time. That yes, it's your job, but you really do care about people.
Sure.
You'd rather somebody's life be saved or some direction corrected rather than it ended up in a bad place.
Great thing about my job is we have a lot of discretion in what we do. And what separates game wardens from most other law enforcement officers, in my opinion, is most of the activities that I'm dealing with or seeing people, they're sportsmen, they're fishermen, they're anglers, they're hunters. They are out there doing something they love to do with their family and their friends. They're outside enjoying the outdoors, enjoying what God has created for them. Yeah. And so my job is to go out there to make sure they're doing it right. And most every single person I deal with, they are doing the right thing. And then I do catch people doing the wrong thing. And the good thing about my discretion is that, we have the law book and there are laws that you have to follow, but there's also common sense too. And, believe it or not, I don't like to write tickets. I don't like to take people to jail, but I have to sometimes.
Sometimes,
and I do when I know I know the difference between whenever I need to sit down, pull somebody aside and talk to them, and when I need to write them a ticket. And probably another thing I think that a lot of officers can't say, at least I can speak for game wardens, I can speak from my experience, that probably 9 times out of 10 or more, after I've written a citation to somebody, they shake my hand and they thank me and they apologize. And you don't really see that a lot in other law enforcement agencies. Not saying just because it's different
Right.
in what we do, and maybe sometimes too on how we treat these people. And like I said, they're out there enjoying themselves. I'm not out there trying to ruin their day or ruin their fishing hole or chase that deer away in the deer blind, the deer feeder. I'm just out there to make sure that they're doing what they're supposed to be doing. And if they're not, get them educated first and foremost. And then if we have to, if we have to have an enforcement action, then we do. And I'm not out there looking for the guy really that's out there with his kids trying to do something. Maybe his kid didn't have something right. I'm out there trying to catch the guy that's trespassing, trying to catch the guy that's stealing on ranches, trying to catch the guy that's cutting fences, catching the guy that's shooting off the road, that's probably more times than not also intoxicated or has drugs as well. You'd be surprised, people would be surprised how many times I deal with something that's in a hunting or fishing situation, but then it goes into something else like alcohol or drugs, or it goes into down another road other than why I was there in the first place.
Yeah, that's just, and even as you say that, and you're warning folks to, trying to mess up anybody's weekend, you're just trying to do your job and ensure their safety as well. But you also, every time you leave your house and you leave those 2 baby girls and you leave your wife behind, and you put that gun on, that badge on, you're stepping into some territory that literally is dangerous, and you could end up in places. You were on the edge of that Uvalde shooting situation all those years ago.
Actually I didn't go that day. I used to be an instructor in that stuff and active shooter stuff. Years ago, I did some of that, and I was actually I just come off of a little bit of leave because I just had my two
little ones,
twin girls.
Right.
I'd only been working a week or two, and I saw it come out on the text messages, and I was about 51 or 52 miles away. And in my experience up to then, it was, oh man, well, this thing's going to be over in 2 or 3 minutes. There should be plenty of people there. And so I did not respond. I didn't want to drive that far and that fast.
And you had not been specifically called
No,
to
I
be
wasn't
there.
specifically called.
Right.
But, I've always kind of regretted not going because I don't know what difference I would have made, if any, but then nobody knew that it would last that long either.
Right.
And I'm never going to ever judge anybody that was there or wasn't there, or I wasn't there. So what happened was horrible for everybody, and it's sad, and it made me really hug those little girls harder when I got home, because even if you weren't there, even as a civilian, it should have hurt your heart.
Oh, it did.
Yeah.
It did. It just,
And as a law enforcement officer, it hurt my heart, not only for the people and the children, but for the other officers that were there trying to do something.
Yeah. You had been trained, and you were a trainer in the shooter situation.
Yeah.
You had also, if I remember correctly, you've been in some high water rescue situations where they'd lower you out of the helicopter. And
I had started to train that. Yeah. So basically what happened, I'll circle back to my friend Joe Patterson, who was in my roommate in Cisco and then in North Carolina in college. I recruited his brother to be a game warden. And at the time, he'd been a game warden for about 1.5 years, and he was on his day off, and they got a call for 2 kids that had drowned in the Paluxy River. So he had called me the night before and said, hey, it's my day off tomorrow, but I have a chance to go maybe do some search and rescue or maybe a recovery. He goes, "Where do you think?" I said, "You ought to go. It's a good experience. Get out in the boat." So they went out, and him and another partner went out in a boat to do a search of the area, and their boat got too close to the Lowhead Dam that they were looking in, and their boat got sucked in, and the boat flipped over, and both of them went underwater, and he actually pulled his partner up and saved his partner's life, but he ended up drowning in that situation. So I was also on the game warden honor guard at that time. So after that happened, I had to fold his flag off his coffin. And I'll never forget, as I was doing that, as I was folding that flag, and my tears were just hitting that flag, and the helicopters flew over. And the whole time I'm thinking, like, this shouldn't have happened. We should have better training. We should have better equipment. We should have better guidelines for this. I don't ever want this to happen again. So the next week, I got a group of guys together, and I spoke to my supervisors, and we got some training, and then it just went on from there. And to this day, we have a phenomenal search and rescue team that's involved also with our aviation department, as they do, search and rescue out of the helicopter as well. And I started to do a little bit of that, and then kind of got out of it, went down a different path. But I was involved in Wimberley and the Wimberley floods, and did a lot of stuff there. Had a couple very close calls.
I want to ask you about that, and we were, in fact, I found out pretty soon on July the 4th that you were going to be up there. They were moving you up to be a part, as there were many other game wardens that were involved. Talk through that a little bit with us. I mean, that has rocked our state. That has rocked, whether you had any children that you were connected to or a family connected to it or not. Just the thought of those little girls in the middle of the night, powers out, water rising, what in the world, and then you guys were called the next morning after that water was still receding.
Well, so actually that morning that it was happening, I was up at 6 a.m. watching the news that morning. Everybody was asleep in my house. I was watching the news. I'm an early riser, and I saw the radar, and I'm like, man, that's not good. And that was 6 a.m. Well, I said, man, that's not good at all. And then about 30 minutes later, we started getting phone calls and emails, like text messages, get your stuff, all hands on deck. So I actually got into Kerrville about 8:30 or 9 that morning. And I didn't realize how bad it was until I got there and got downtown and got starting to head up in there. And I've never seen water like that. I mean, Wimberley was bad, but that was different. And and at the time, we're hearing things. There's this many kids missing. There's 100 or 200 people missing. We don't know. Our aviation people got there. We had both of our helicopters running. DPS was there. The Coast Guard was there. The Army came, and all day long, me and a group of guys, all we did was pull kids off of helicopters all day long. And
ones that had actually been
they'd
rescued,
been in the camps.
you were helping to get them
Yeah.
relocated.
And then we did that till 9 or 10 o'clock that first night. And they said, okay, be back ready to go at 5:30, 6 in the morning. And the next morning we all convened, and I'll never forget it. They said, okay, yesterday was a tough day. They said, but today's going to be horrible. And they were right, because that was the day that we actually had to go out and work that riverbank and try to find all these missing people and missing children. And I've been involved in so many rescues and recoveries throughout the years. You kind of put those things away, and you don't try not to remember them. They go back in the data bank, and they try to get lost. But this is the very first time that I've responded to something like this since I've had my own children. And so when you do go out there and you find, a child, specifically a little girl, laying out in the brush, just torn and beaten and battered, and the first thing you see are your little girls laying there.
Oh, man.
And It got me. Like it physically and emotionally and psychologically got me 24 plus years. And it got me. I had a problem with that. And not that I didn't have a problem with the other
Sure,
ones, but
sure.
those things you live through them and you go on. And you don't, that one was hard to, because you think about the family, you think about where are these people's family at this moment? I'm here, there, and I'll never forget something came over me, one that we came upon, and I had some younger wards with me. There's a DPS guy with me and some other people, and it was crushing. But the first thing I thought that I needed to do, and I'll never forget this, I said, look, if you don't want to be a part of this, walk away, but I'm going to say a prayer. So we all stood there and we prayed over this baby, you know. And that was hard.
Oh, man.
But I felt like that was something that needed to be done.
Yeah, yeah,
You know.
yeah. You know, there aren't words. There just aren't words in that moment. Do you remember what you prayed?
Yeah, I think so. I just remember just saying, you know, just be with this baby. You know, wrap this baby in your arms, and please give comfort to the family.
To the family.
Yeah, that's really. I mean, I don't know what else.
Yeah. Well,
what else can you say?
What else can you say? Absolutely.
There's really nothing else.
Yeah. You know, and our from the scripture and just the sense is that those truly were little innocent lives. They hadn't lived long enough to get high on drugs or to, you know, rob somebody. The innocent, and there just is really a solid, strong conviction that when those little ones died, they went straight into the presence of the Lord. That He was there. Jesus was there to receive them unto Himself, and that the comfort that only the Lord can give to those brokenhearted families, that's beyond words. And I remember feeling, because knowing that you got those two little twin daughters at your house, and I just remember thinking very strongly, you and I hadn't talked, and I'm in San Antonio and you're up there, but I just, Lord, that Kevin is he's going to feel this in a way that maybe never before, because he's got two at home. You know.
I ain't gonna lie to you. The Lord has brought me through a lot in my life, and some really dark times. And man, I questioned Him that day.
Yeah.
I did.
Where were you, God?
Yeah. Why? Why would you allow?
Yeah.
But again, that's not for us to try to question or answer. Only He has the answer, and you just have to accept what He gives you and know at some point, somehow, some way, there's a reason, and only you'll know that reason when you see Him. So that's what I have to believe, or what I do believe, but you still wonder why, you know.
You know, that one spot, the only place in Scripture where it is recorded that Jesus wept was when Lazarus, the older brother of the two sisters, died, and he saw the grief in the two sisters, and it was there that Jesus wrote. Jesus does not cause death. He's not the author of death. He's the author of life. And He is able to take death that Satan causes, and He can turn it into something good and better, and heaven is real. Those little girls will never have to worry about cancer. They'll never have to worry about a car wreck. They'll never have to worry about to be taken into the presence of the Lord. They're fine. But it's the ones left behind that see that closet full of clothes and that little tricycle or bicycle out in the garden. It's the grieving down here, and that's why Jesus would also say that the last enemy to be defeated is death. There will come a time when there is no more death. And he will be the one who brings that into the human experience. Yeah.
And, circling back, talking about my friend Ty Patterson, who drowned as the game warden,
Yeah.
that sparked us getting better training and getting better.
Right.
So because of that, I think many, many, many people's lives have been saved since then.
Right.
So that's how I try to take something good.
Yeah.
Like you just said, take something good from there.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I know that had to have been a set of circumstances contained in your assignment. That was your duty. That was your job, to be a part of the search and the rescue, whatever, and in that setting. And I just feel like I want to say for the rest of us Texans, thank you, and those that wear that badge and do what you were called to do. Thank you for doing what you do. Thank you for risking your life. Thank you for being in those high-speed chases to try to stop this fentanyl and whatever else and all is coming in, bringing into that. We are deeply indebted to you all, to you in particular, but to all of the game wardens and just across the board, all of the peace officers and the federal officers that help to keep us safe. And we really mean that.
Well, I always tell people, no one elected me to do this. I chose to do it, and I've loved just about all of it so far. Like any other job, it has its days, and it's starting to take its toll on me. I'm getting, my bones. I'm not even 50 years old yet. My bones hurt, and my back hurts, but it's still fun, and I like helping people.
Yeah,
and
you do. You've got to have that in you to want to help, not just to take. You taught at the academy, at the Game Warden Academy for a few years, and some of your students came out to the ranch down after they had become full-fledged game wardens, and we've had a really good time with that legacy. Your legacy, transferred to those students. And,
I think one or two of them still have shot bigger deer out there than I ever have, but we'll talk about that.
Well, we'll work on that later. Yeah. One of the things that we enjoy doing down in South Texas, we have access to a couple of spots down there, and Kevin and other game wardens and Border Patrol guys, some of those, you're always on the hunt for the bad guys, and you don't really get to appreciate hunting season because you're trying to enforce the rules. So when you got a day off and we can give you the gate combination and invite you to come down there, we let you shoot most deer that you look at, but not all of them.
One of my favorite weekends that I look forward to every year is your men's retreat weekend, your wilderness weekend. Dale Hancock has done a great job of doing for so many years, and I know Colt is a part of that too, and all the other guys. And you've had Brandon on, and so I really look forward to those couple days of getting down there. At the South Texas brush is where I'm most comfortable, but even just once you go through that gate, and you've said it before, once you drive through that gate, something just overtakes you, a sense of calmness and peace, even within all the chaos that might be going on around there. There's lots of places to sleep in there. There's lots of little houses, and there's one certain spot, one certain place in your house you've given me for years. And when I not only come through those gates, but when I walk through that door, it's just almost feels like I belong there. So I've always appreciated that time, even if it's one day or 2 days out of the year. I've always appreciated that time there.
It's never,
and with you.
It's never many, because that's your busiest one of your busiest seasons, during the hunting seasons and all. But I've always said to you, the gate combination remains the same, and then the other part of it is that when you come, we're not asking you to cut us any slack. If we've done something wrong with a cooler log, or we're doing something out on the field that we shouldn't be doing, get out your ticket book, write us up.
No, I always got it ready to go.
Write us up, and that's but we respect the position, we respect the authority, and just really do appreciate. I hope, folks, as you've heard Kevin share, and you saw the tear in his eye and the quiver on his chin when he's describing what he had to walk through and see, and the prayer that he felt led to pray over that little body that they walked up on. I hope you will sense and appreciate the heart behind the badge, the heart behind these badges that we've been. I'm hoping you've gotten to know as you've heard their story, and Kevin specifically today. We need to pray for these men and women that are in these positions of leadership, and they are doing what they do so that we can be safe, and we genuinely appreciate that, Kevin. Folks, thanks for being a part with us today of There Is More, and I hope you've picked up on there is more than just the uniform and the hat and the badge in this game warden, this Texas game warden. Who you were a star of some Texas game warden show, weren't you?
I wouldn't say I was a star. I was on 2 episodes of the Lone Star Loft.
Lone Star Loft, here's where it started and ended, right.
And they were actually with me in Wimberley. They were with me in Wimberley that night.
And the rescue.
And we did get a rescue on film.
Yeah.
It was a pretty crazy situation.
That was a tough one too. High water, Wimberley a few years ago.
Yeah.
Okay, folks, thank you. Join us next time, and we'll have some more of this. There is more, and God bless you.